Okay, I'm on to pies now. So I made my crust, which I told you about. You have to let it rest in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. The reason is because the butter that you zhuzhed around in the food processor and also, kneaded a little bit with your hands, started to melt a little bit. So the key is with good pie dough, is you want to have really, really cold butter to start when you mix and make the dough. And you want to put it back into the fridge to get solidified again. The reason for doing that and keeping your butter as cold as possible, and actually I might as well put this back in the fridge while I, talk. Babe, can you get the fridge for me? There's my apple pie. Is because whenever the cold butter hits the oven, it's going to release steam, and the steam is what creates flaky pie dough. So keep your butter as cold as possible, work with your dough really, really quickly, get it into the fridge, and even if you're making multiple pies, like I just did right now, I put my apple pie in the fridge to kind of chill out for a little bit. So I'm making the lattice crust right now. I'll show you what this dough looks like. Looking really good, nice and pliable, smooth. There aren't really any cracks, and in the wintertime it's drier, so you typically do need to add a little bit more ice water if you're in a drier climate, or if the weather is dry, because that's how you're going to be able to have a more pliable dough, is just kind of watching the moisture level. And also, when you let the dough rest a little bit in the fridge, the flour will absorb the water a little bit, and that obviously doesn't happen like right away. So the longer you let it rest, the more that the dough kind of becomes tenderized with the moisture that you'd added at the beginning. So it's always good to kind of let soak a little bit or something like that. Now I didn't have any rolling pin. I don't know where it went to, but thankfully this roll of paper this roll of saran wrap worked good. I also tried using my shout out to SodaStream, which I kind of quit using that last year when I got it for Christmas, maybe 2 years ago. But it's working, and here's my rolling pin tip. So whenever you're making a dough, you wanna roll it out from the center portion, and then you wanna like turn it a quarter turn, and then keep rolling. So every quarter turn and every roll will help keep your dough as even as possible. So that's my rolling tip. And my pie tip, so pie dough tips and my pie tip. So my pumpkin pie, I follow the direction on the back of, shout out to #Libby's recipe. I think that's totally fine. I tend to over season my pumpkin pie a little bit. I think I'm going to go easy on the seasonings this year. But for my apple pie, let me just tell you, now obviously this is totally personal preference, but I really think the best apple pies are made with thinly sliced apples. Like not super thin, but maybe like a quarter of an inch, or like the thinness of this fork tine, something like that. I mean, chunky apple pies are like the worst. Like the apples just fall out all over the place. Like I like it to kind of stick together, right? So slice your apples like pretty thinly, and use Granny Smith. You can't really go wrong. Usually about 6 to 8 apples is good for a pie. 8 for like a really like high mounded crust pie, which I wish I would have used all 8 of my apples, but some of them went in the turkey. Either way, it's going to turn out great. So I'm going to work on getting this lattice crust made and getting these pies in the oven so I can get this freaking turkey in.